Nice, nice. Now you have an interesting background that sort of led you to the HR world and sort of in corporate America, right?
Mhm.
Uh, would you care to just talk about, what led you down the HR path?
Yeah, yeah. So my career started in engineering, and my degree was in chemical engineering. I worked in manufacturing for a short while, and then I got like a true chemical engineering job. I was responsible for the water chemistry at a nuclear power plant.
Oh,
But 1 month after starting that job, I attended some leadership training. And I was tapped on the shoulder, literally tapped on the shoulder, and pulled aside at the end of the 3 day training and asked if I would participate in a team that would sustain the learning that we had just gone through, because the company that I worked for had just trained all 900 employees of the site that I worked at,
oh wow.
and they wanted to make sure that the training didn't come and then the the training left and everything was forgotten, that we implemented what we had talked about. So from that, I ended up getting really involved in learning about leadership, and ended up taking over a program that supported air reduction at the facility I was at. I later moved and worked for another company doing a very similar role. And during that, I had experience in change management work, project management, and a lot of leadership development and organizational effectiveness work. And what I learned was that in every other industry other than the nuclear industry, those functions belong to HR. And in our industry, it was in a continuous improvement organization. And and I also knew that I didn't have any formal training in it. And one day I was sitting in a meeting, and a leader pounded his fist on a table. Why won't people just do what I'm telling them to do? And he was just so frustrated because something like really dumb had happened. And he was just so frustrated. And he was a good leader. He wasn't sometimes people are not good leaders and say things like that, but he was a strong, good leader. But I looked around and there was absolutely no presence from human resources there. And I knew there was a body of knowledge and a strategic contribution that was lacking.
Mm.
And I thought to myself, there's a better way to bring this body of knowledge literally to the table. And so that was kind of my jumping off point into HR. That was my motivation to go and get the education. I went back and I got my MBA. I focused on strategy, organizational management, and business acumen because I didn't get any of that stuff in engineering school. And I made my career shift to HR. And over the next 12 years, I worked through all of different functions of HR, and kind of landed in the talent management piece area later in my HR career, where I had responsibility for workforce strategy, talent management programs, employee engagement.
See, I think that you could have been the head of any department and would have been able to implement a lot of this stuff, but whomever's idea it was to sort of put you at the sort of the higher level strategy piece, I think it just makes so much sense when I think about you and your approach. And we've done workshops, webinars together. Effective is like one of the words that I would use to describe you, and you really understand the sort of nuts and bolts of like HR, right? There's like these two sides of it, like this warm and fuzzy side, right? And it's like HR, my door is always open, and that stuff is necessary too, right? But then there's a strategic piece that um, I would say that when HR is truly aligned with the rest of the business, they're part of those conversations and an integral part of the strategy, right? And how do we roll these things out as it relates to our employees? And you know what works, you know what works. So kudos to the person that tapped you on the shoulder and led you down this path, because I think you've probably um the people around you probably benefited more having you in those roles.
Thank you,